Hi there, everyone. Welcome to Smarter Real Estate, my weekly Wednesday video series. I am Julie Tam, managing broker of Lynn Realty in Houston, Texas, and I am joined today by a very special guest. I have known Danielle for, like 20 years or something. That starts to
Minute.
really date us, right? We used to be coworkers in the television news industry, and now we are crossing paths in real estate and a real estate related industry. Danielle is a consultant at blinds.com, and so she knows and sells all things window treatments related. And of course, I do real estate. We've ordered from her before for properties that we manage. I also represented her as a real estate agent a few years ago when she bought a beautiful new home. So, Danielle, thanks so much for joining us today to talk about really fun topic of window treatments.
Thanks for having me, Julie. It's been really interesting with 2020. Not a lot of people realize going into it how important window treatments are at the end of the day. Um, a lot of times they are just thought of as like the last thing just to put up because you don't want to have your windows bare. But
Right.
what we've noticed over this year with a lot of people being required to stay at home or staying at home because it's a safer situation for everybody who's involved, they're utilizing their home space a lot differently now. I've been talking to clients that I might have ordered products for 2 to 3 years ago, and they're having to order new products because of how they're changing the space. Or clients that may have just opted for something very simplistic because it was out of necessity, they're covering the windows. Now that they're staring at those windows 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, their wants and desires have changed. So we've seen a lot of things start to evolve over the past year when it comes to window treatments.
And you said you've been very busy during the pandemic. So, I mean, one might think that folks are having financial difficulties, may not want to spend, but actually, because they're spending all the time at home, what are some of the common things you're finding that people just really want to change very badly?
The home improvement industry is booming right now because people are not traveling. They've been repurposing their travel budget, their vacation budgets to something to make themselves more comfortable at home. So you're seeing the fact that people are outfitting home offices now, or uh, school rooms for their kids, or you're seeing they're spending a lot more time outside. So they're really focusing on their outdoor space. Now that they have the time to control the lighting or the glare, they're noticing that the lighting is changing during the day, and they were never home to really notice it, and it was never a big problem. But they're trying to do a Zoom conference and there's a huge glare coming from behind, so they just look like a shadow or on the screen. So it's
Right.
all these different things that we're having to pivot and change as design consultants to help our clients out. It's been a lot of a lot of interesting developments as far as the products that are available now, production times, colors, options. It's been a challenging year, but it's been a lot of fun for us because we're getting a lot of calls all the time.
Well, that's always good. You
Yeah.
mentioned as far as production time, are y'all experiencing shortages like we've seen in some of the, home building like lumber and labor and things like that that were, cause delays maybe?
There are some delays on some products, normally with your plantation shutters, because they are so labor intensive. Those are taking longer than normal. And some of the woven wood shades and things like that, because a lot of woven wood shades are made overseas. So you're having across the board production times are slightly extended, and just has to do with social distancing for the most part, just to keep the workers safe at the factory. And then we're also noticing the products that especially that are being shipped from overseas, we're seeing a little bit of a delay just because of issues at the port, just having enough port workers and dock workers to get everything checked in. Larger shipments or shipments that might include needing to go via freight, those are being a little bit delayed as opposed to being like maybe 5 days in transit. I'm seeing up to 2 weeks in transit just because there's not enough truck drivers to get the product across the country. So altogether, it is a global supply chain issue that is having some issues, but we are we're managing them very well and very communicative with our customers as to what's going on, especially if you're talking with a design consultant. They can give you exactly what you can expect. And we also have our customer service team that can help you out. And we also have like status check lines that are online and things like that.
Very good. And Danielle, of course, we're noticing that you're having to work from home because no one's allowed
Yes.
in the office. So while you would normally do videos, obviously online, for blinds.com, like on YouTube and their
Mhm.
channel, and be able to demonstrate window treatments. But we're being creative today since we're on
We're
Zoom.
being creative today.
Yes, we're doing screen share, and you're going to just show us the latest and greatest. And so, yeah, let's dive in. I mean, what are kind of the current trends in window treatments? Maybe some due to the pandemic, and then some not due to the pandemic, but just general trends that have kind of been coming about over the last couple of years.
For sure. The number one thing that we've noticed that has been one of the top sellers throughout the year has been cellular shades, also known as honeycomb shades.
Mm,
And this is before it used to be a very southern based geographic thing, because with blinds.com, we do sell nationally across the entire nation. And so different pockets of the country have different ideas of the products that they want, but we've been seeing a lot more of these products sell. There's
mm,
a few reasons. First of all, it allows you to have more flexibility when it comes to light control, because you can have a light filtering or you can have a blackout. So that's one of the first things. The second one is with color. If you want to add some color in your life, if you're okay with having white blinds for the longest time, but you're tired of staring at the white blinds, you can add in or introduce color, but still have a white or consistent look from the street to you can have different colors in different rooms, but also to please the HOA, condo associations, and things like that.
yeah.
As far as lifting and lowering, you're able to do a couple of different things. You can have corded, you can have cordless, especially if you have small children and pets at home. You
Mm,
can also motorize. So it gives you lots of flexibility, even top down, bottom up, which I'll give you a quick look at what that might look like in just one
yeah.
second. So with a top down, bottom up shade, what will happen is that's allowing you to have natural light that will come through the top of the shade, but at the bottom of the shade, you can still maintain privacy. Here in Texas, we know how close we can be to our next door neighbors, for sure,
Especially in town.
especially in town. And what that will allow you to do is go ahead, and I'm pulling up the picture now. Here we go. It will allow you to be able to see a little bit of that light coming in, but being able to, can you see the picture?
Yeah, blackout cellular shade.
Okay. So this one's a blackout version. So with this one, whenever they want to go ahead and close down the entire window and make it dark, you can totally do that. But you can cover the bottom half of the window, allow light to come in. You can cover the center of the window, because maybe it's when it's sunset's happening and you're seeing that sun start to come through and it's staring you right in the face. You can cover the middle of the window, but still have that natural light come in on the top and the bottom. So that's going to give you a few more options. Something else that's been really popular, French door shades, because a lot of people may not have ever covered their French doors before. They're seeing some glare come in. With the French door shades, we have some that are specifically made for French doors so they don't protrude off of the window opening very deeply. Especially because you have a lot of people have the handles, or they're switching out to the handles because they want to have a more modern look. I know
Mhm.
when I designed my house, you told me go with the lever, go with the handle, not
That's
the
right.
knob.
Or high end.
So this is definitely something that you can use behind that, because it has a very low profile. So that will give you an option.
That is a
Another,
good point because typically when you have those faux wood blinds, they'll a lot of times
Mhm.
hit the handle as you're opening and closing the door, which can be, an irritant when you're obviously trying to get out the door.
Exactly. And I'll give you one more picture. This one is going to be what we call a tri-light shade, or a sun up sundown, where you'll have a sheer portion at the top and a solid portion at the bottom. What makes that particular option interesting is the fact that you're able to go ahead and control the light, still get a little bit of privacy, but be able to filter that light coming in, basically the best of both worlds. So you'll be able to see outside, especially for my clients that like to see the grass or the trees or the lake or whatever scenery they may have. They'll be able to see outside. And then whenever they need complete privacy, you can go ahead and lift that shade and have complete privacy.
It
There's
looks really classy too.
It looks really classy, very streamlined, and the cellular shades are energy efficient. And that's what's a really great thing, especially with us being in the South. They're going to help with the heat in the summer, as well as what little cold that we do have here. But nationwide, I do sell a lot of them up north to help with the cold, and down south, it's to help with the heat. We have on our blog, we have a great blog that's called you can get to if I go to blog.blinds.com. It's called The Finishing Touch. We had worked with a client who had a nursery, and she had one of those cameras in the nursery that had the temperature. And
Oh,
we
yeah.
saw that whenever she was based in Arizona, whenever she installed the cellular shades in the nursery, the temperature dropped by 10 degrees in the nursery.
Hmm.
That's massive.
Yeah.
There's one other new product that we have with the cellular shades as well. We have an eco-friendly cellular shade, which is made from recycled plastic bottles. So
Hmm.
there are some people that are very conscious about the environment and really conscious about the type of products that they bring into the home. We do have these new eco-friendly products that just launched probably about 3 months ago on our site, and we can definitely walk you through those options and color options. And they're going to be cordless to make it safer for children and pets as well.
So, and speaking of these different products, some people like to get the traditional blinds because they're smooth, they're easy to dust and then wipe down, with the damp cloth, for example. Some folks don't like curtains. I personally love curtains in certain rooms. Like we have curtains in our living room and our master bedroom because it just adds that elegance. And we have a really low dust environment. So we had them steam clean once. And the guy was like, I've never seen curtains this clean. Like there's hardly any dust it's coming out of them. But what about these cellular shades? Talk about cleaning and, dust and that sort of thing.
They're fairly easy to maintain. So what you'll do, you'll take the upholstery attachment from your vacuum cleaner, and you'll actually vacuum your shades. Normally they say to do it about once a month. I do it a little bit more often because I have dogs that shed. And I
Hmm.
have dark cellular shades. You can see behind me in my office, I have them, they're dark purple. So when you have light colored dogs and you have dark colored shades, you might see it a little bit more often.
Yeah.
If you live in an environment where if you get the creepy crawlies, the little spiders or something that I
Mhm.
don't have those here, but some people do, you may want to get the canned air that you use for your keyboards
Okay.
just to blow out the cells. But they're very, very, very easy to maintain, really high stack height, which means whenever you lift them all the way up in your window opening, they're going to stack fairly small. So you'll be able to have a completely open view, because that's important to some people.
Absolutely. Yeah, especially if you have a really nice view like lakefront or something like that.
Exactly, exactly.
Okay. And then there's definitely some high-tech features that, some of these different window treatments have. What are the kind of the latest and greatest out there?
So when it comes to motorization or remote control shades, you don't have to have an electrician come in and do some wiring or things like that. You're going to be able to install motorized or remote control shades in your window opening.
Mm.
Some of them, we have a lot of different products, a lot of different manufacturers. Now, what you're going to notice is that the questions that we'll ask you as design consultants, is this something that you only want to communicate with remote control, or do you want to be able to use your smartphone to be able to control it? Do you need to set it on timers or schedules that you, instead of wake up to a alarm clock, you want to wake up to the sun or things like that? Or do you want to use like a smart assistant like Google Home or an Alexa or something like that to control your shades? We do have ones that can be controlled that way as well. Normally with the shades are going to be motorized via battery pack. That's the most prevalent that you're going to see. Normally it's going to be double A batteries are going to be lithium, and it's going to be roughly about 10 in a pack. So if you're motorizing a lot of windows, a battery option may not be the way to go. We do have some that are going to be rechargeable. That will be a cord, and it's going to be long, like a 10-foot cord that looks like a USB cell phone charger, like an Android charger, that you'll plug in and charge your shades overnight for about 6 to 8 hours every 6 months or so. So that's a greener option for people who don't want to throw away batteries, or just they have a lot of shades they want to motorize. You can just get away with recharging those. So not all shades have that option. So it's really important to have a discussion with a design consultant just to make sure that we're putting you in the right solution for that. There are some that have a solar panel option. So let's say if you have that second story entryway, but you have that window that you can see, let's say you need privacy because their kids are running from the bathroom to their bedrooms and things like that, and you
Right.
need to have some privacy in those upper windows. You want to motorize, you don't have a 20-foot ladder hanging around. We do have some that have a little small solar panel that will physically attach to the glass. So
Hmm.
that'll also give you an option. So there's a few different ways that we can control these options and shades and things like that. Some of the manufacturers, one of them that does our woven wood shades, which is that natural material shade. They're all over the blogs now, all over Pinterest. That's what interior designers really love to use. I work with a lot of interior designers because it gives a lot of texture and warmth to the room. Well, in the past, you always had to attach the privacy liner to the back of the shade, whether it be light filtering or blackout. We have an option now that you can make the liner separate. So you can go ahead and lift and lower the liner separately from the front of the shade. So it's basically giving you two shades in one.
Okay.
And if you want to have that complete open view, you can raise both of them, which is really cool. So we have products that do that. We have dual roller shades because roller shades have become very popular as well. It's not like grandma's roller shade from, back in the 70s or 80s where you pull it once and it flips up and things like that. They're a lot cleaner, a lot streamlined. So people that are leaning towards that more modern, clean aesthetic, the clean lines of the roller shades are very optimal for them. And then you can do the single standalone shade would be light filtering or blackout, or solar, which will block UV rays. I usually like to use those solar shades in windows that don't necessarily need to be covered, but my client has wood floors because we know how damaging the sun can be. I mean, think about what we do for skincare. Imagine what happens to wood floors that are getting sun in specific spots that they're going to get bleached out. This will allow you to be able to see outside during the brightest part of the day, but still protect your floor. So you're not giving up your view, but you're protecting your floors. And then whenever you want to roll them up, you can. Some of the manufacturers will do a dual. So you can have a light filtering in a blackout or a solar in a blackout. So once again, the best of both worlds. It's all about flexibility and choice right now, for sure.
Right. And talking to someone like you can come up with things that we may not even think about. For example, like you want that bright light coming in, but you don't think about the UV damage to materials inside your home. Were there any other products you want to show me before we move on to the kind of the next topic, which is about misconceptions of certain and things?
That's the ones right off the bat that I want to show you as far as products are concerned. I might pull up a couple of photos when I'm talking to you about some misconceptions because I think I have some that can illustrate some of those points for sure.
Okay. Well, yeah, certainly window treatments. There are some misconceptions, just like with anything else. So what are some of the most common ones that you hear about when you're talking to customers?
So everyone seems to think that faux wood blinds are lightweight. They're actually very heavy. They're approximately, depending on the manufacturer, 30 to 60% heavier than a real wood blind. So if I have someone that's trying to do a larger expanse of an area, we'll start, or they're very adamant about having the blind being all one piece, because the manufacturers will start to, once you get to a certain size, they will tell you, well, you can have one headrail, but you have to have a left blind and a right blind, and because it's too heavy. But if you do it in real wood, you can sometimes do larger expanses. And the reason is because the cording is typically fairly thin. And whenever you're trying to hoist one of those big windows up, it's a little bit difficult sometimes. So whenever it comes to that particular opening and things like that, faux wood blinds, I say it's typically going to be for your smaller openings, places that might get really damp, if you have some condensation issues like in a bathroom or things like that, or if it's behind a sink and you have the husband or the kids that like to throw the dishes in the sink and it splashes on the wall. Those are great to clean. It's but it's something that'll help you up. But yeah, faux wood blinds definitely are a lot heavier. They're a basic go-to, but we can always help you come up with something that's going to be more creative and have a more finished look for your home. We'll help you out with that as well. But yeah, for sure.
Okay. And what else?
So we talked about roller shades not being old-fashioned.
Right.
You can have a very clean look with a roller shade, just really to help you get everything taken care of and make it look very clean and that window opening. It can look very simplistic. The other thing that we're talking about, you were saying how you like your draperies and your master and things like that. Everybody wants to know, how do I get that finished look? I don't understand how to get that finished look. And the finished look really comes from layering your window treatments. That's what all the interior designers do. You're not going to see just one product in a window opening. You're going to actually see a couple of different blinds. You'll have like a blind or a shade layered with the drapery. You can get drapery off the rack, or which is called more or less curtains when you get it off the rack. Once you start customizing, that's when they use the word drapery. Because you can customize the length, the width, If you want a color block, if you want to have fringe, if you want to customize the liner to where it's either a light filtering liner, room darkening, blackout, a thermal liner that will allow light in but block heat. So there's a lot of different options when it comes to that. I'm going to pull up.
We got custom draperies for ours, and they're very expensive, and especially
Yes.
because like our living room has, you know, really wide double set of sliding glass doors, so it's a
Mhm.
one long rod that they had to ship specially, and even just to get it through the house was a little bit of a challenge. And you know, you get to pull the cord, and they open up really nicely and easily. Same thing for the master, it's a similar width, and so yeah, we were able to do the little fringy things at the bottom, a little border on one of those sets of drapes. So anyway, just yeah, we love them.
It makes a lot of sense. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to show you, I'm pulling up our blog that I talked to you about. We
Mhm.
have two great ladies that work on the blog. Their names are Abigail and Ashley. And do you see this blog right here with Elsie Larson?
Yes.
Okay, so with Elsie, what was important to her is that she wanted to be able to see outside, see those great tree views. She was
Mhm.
one of those clients that are layering her products. She actually has roller shades in these windows. So you see how far up those roller shades stack?
Mhm.
So it allows that natural light to come through, because she was very adamant about having a lot of natural light, but we did blackout shades. So you're seeing the after. I want to show you the
But it's
before.
very light and airy.
Mhm. This
Ooh,
is the
that looks
before.
so good, the before. Yeah,
So
no.
it's
Very excited.
amazing what the right window treatment can do
Oh,
at the end
yes.
of the day. That's
Wow.
massive, of how light and airy it is. And then we're showing here how with the blackout, how it starts to block it out. And Elsie did this great photo of it. So whenever she would draw how deep and dark those rooms would get for
Mhm.
whenever she wants to sleep in. Now I'll show you this other one. This one over here is an east facing window. So you have a little bit more light that's creeping through at the top because she didn't do a valance. But
Mhm.
overall, it's really still darkening the room. And we actually motorized her options as well. So we used a remote control. It's a rechargeable remote control because that was something that was very important to her.
You know,
But
and it
it's
really goes to show you, because sometimes, like you said, people think of window treatments as an afterthought, right? We just like move in, we design everything, we pick the flooring, the paint, and you know, the countertops and the cabinets, and then it's like, oh, let's get some blinds and put them up. And I mean, I'm even guilty of that in a lot of my rooms. It's just you know, the forward blinds, but really, I mean, it is part of the design element, and it almost frames kind of a piece of artwork in a way. If you have a nice view out the window,
it
that's
does.
your frame, and you know, you want it to look really nice, and that makes the room really.
Yes, for sure. Whenever you talk about roller shades, solar shades is another one that we talk about. And people always say, well, I want the shades that you can see out, but people can't see in. It doesn't always happen that way because you have to think about the way solar shades work is whichever side the glass is lighter or brighter is the side that can't see in. So during the day, it's easy for you to see out, but
Mhm.
it's harder for people to see in, so forth and vice versa in the evening. What
Okay.
I'll do, let me show you this particular one. This is just a combo photo of different opacities because some people don't understand that you can see literally see through the shade. So this is a 14% opacity. This is 10%, 5%, and 3%. Just
Okay.
to give you an idea that with 3%, you're blocking 97% of the UV rays, but you can still see outside and still
Right.
see that Great Lake view without a problem.
That's a nice view. I'd like to
It
look
is a
at
great view. I'm a little jealous of that view for sure.
that. Great.
So
Mhm.
so we talked about that. We talked about when it comes to drapery or the curtains and things like that. If you're buying stuff off the rack, you have to take into account make your own fullness. If your window is 70 inches wide, you're going to have a right panel and a left panel, and you have to figure out it needs to be about double the fullness so it doesn't hang like a flat sheet. Because
Mhm.
I'm sure if we've ever had our first mistake before I worked in the window treatment industry, that's exactly what I did. It hung like a flat sheet because no one ever told me.
Right, right.
Well, whenever you order draperies on our website, our custom draperies, what is going to happen is that we automatically build in the fullness based on the thickness of the fabric.
Mm.
Sometimes it may need to be a 3 times fullness. So we actually ask you for the window opening measurement.
Okay. And that leads us great into the next thing, because there's common mistakes that are made. People, when they measure their windows, they don't know that you actually have to measure in different places, because
Mhm.
the edges are not perfectly straight. You would think they are, because you're like, oh well, it looks straight to me. But when the builder builds it, it's not perfectly straight. Can you talk about that and some of the other common mistakes people make when they start to approach, design
Absolutely.
windows?
So depending on the product, you'll measure different ways. So if you're ever going to self-measure on our website, go to the measuring instructions at the bottom of that particular product page and it'll tell you. For example, if you're going to be doing a blind that goes inside the window opening, you're going to measure 3 widths across the top, middle, and bottom,
Mhm.
and you're going to give the shortest width for an inside mount. And the reason is because we need to make sure when we lift and lower the product that it's able to travel up all the way up and all the way down.
Yeah.
For the height, you're going to give us the tallest height. That way we know the entire window opening is covered.
Okay.
For a roller shade, you only measure the width at the top of the window opening versus the sides because you're going to measure it where it's actually installed at. If you're going to be doing plantation shutters, which you can easily do as well, you're going to take several different measurements. You're going to take 3 width measurements and 3 height measurements, and you're going to give us the narrowest measurement for each of them for an inside mount. Then you're going to also make sure that you measure, we call it the X measurement. It's the squareness measurement
Mm.
because we need to make sure that to figure out how square the window is, because if there's more than 1/4 of an inch in difference in squareness, you can't do certain frames because it's going to allow too much light to come through. So we have other frame options for you.
That's what I was going to ask, is like, is there ever a window where you just can't do that window treatment on it? And like you just said,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah.
So there's certain things that we'll do for that. So there are different frames that we'll use, or we'll ask you, we'll consider an outside mount frame because the window treatment industry has pretty much seen almost everything that can be thrown at it.
Mhm.
The vendors have come up with solutions. We're trained to give you the solutions. If you're hunting around on the site by yourself or doing some online shopping by yourself, may not know what you don't know. And
Mhm.
that's what we're here to do. We're here to help you out with that and to really walk you through that. Make sure that you're checking the depth because a lot of people think, for example, a 2 inch blind, a 2 inch slat blind only needs 2 inches of space. That's
Right.
not the case. Whenever you take into account the headrail and the valance at the top, it can be all the way up to 4 1/8 inches of what's needed. Depends on the manufacturer. But we can also customize the returns, which are those little side pieces, for you at no cost to make it look great the first time. That way we don't have any problems and things like that. So it's really just double checking the depth because that's what I see that people forget to do. They assume that all products are created alike. With roller shades, I'll have manufacturers that have a minimum required space of 3/4 of an inch, where another one requires 1 inch and 3/4. That's a
Mhm.
big difference. So
And
really
you don't want the depth to be the exact depth of your blind, otherwise your blinds are just scratching the windows, as.
exactly. Yeah.
So.
So we always make sure, and whenever we do an inside mount at the factory, they do take a slight deduction so that scratching doesn't happen. If you're
Mhm.
measuring an outside mount, you have to make sure that you have enough overlap on the sides of the window openings to give you the privacy that you need. And with roller shades, the fabric measurement is always smaller than the bracket to bracket measurement. So we always need to figure out what's the amount of space that we need the fabric to cover and then add in the fabric. We call it the fabric deduction or the light gap back into it. So there's a lot of different options that are available with that. It's really just reading the instructions on our website, giving us a call. We do have measure and installation services available nationwide for most of our products. So that's
Mhm.
always something we can help out with as well.
Okay. And then samples are something that you can provide, since you're an online business. And so for people to actually see the product in their home, how does that
Mhm.
work?
So normally you're able to go online and order samples yourself. There are some products that you can't. However, if you give us a call, the design consultant team can get samples for you. It's really important because I've been doing this over 5 years and I can't tell you how many times people have said, I just want a white. There's 5 different undertones when it comes to white. There's
Right.
nothing worse than me selecting a bright white and you actually didn't have bright white paint. You had soft white paint. So now your paint looks dirty next to these super celebrity teeth white blinds.
Right.
So if we offer you free samples, just take it.
Yeah.
That way you can see and touch and feel what it's going to look like in your home, in the coloring, And it's a small sample. It's not like we're not sending you full size sample blinds. It's going to be a small swatch, typically about 2 to 3 inches, just enough so you can check it in your light. And it's important because if you're looking at computer screens, the color that you see on the computer screen may not be the same color it is because someone may have recalibrated that color because
Mm.
the color was too bright or something like that. Um, Also, you have to take into account your lighting. I've had clients that have ordered samples and sent the samples to their office
Mhm.
to pick out the color for their home, not realizing the color in their office is a red toned light. The
Wow.
lighting in their home is a blue tone light. And it's just like, well, it didn't look like this, but when they take the sample from their office and bring it to their house, it's like, oh, what happened? Look
Right.
at the samples in the room where it's going to be going. It's very important.
Exactly. And even the lighting during the time of day in that room is different, so you kind of just have to take a look at it how you want to how you want it to look. So, okay, any final things that you want to share with us? This has been greatly educational, a lot of good information.
The two major things that I would say is whenever you are outfitting your house, think about, because I have some people that want to use different things in different windows. Think about the curb view of your house. You
Mhm.
know, curb appeal being in real estate.
Yes.
You don't want to have a horizontal product in one window, a vertical product in another window, a shade product in something else. It looks like Skittles. You know,
Right.
that's not cute.
And
So think
multicolored.
exactly. So think about having a consistent product or style of product facing the street for the curb view. Once it gets to the other sides of the house, have fun. It's not that important, but that curbside view is going to be very important. So otherwise, whenever you are contacted later to sell your house, your real estate agent might tell you, we need to change those couple of blinds because they don't match the rest of what's going on in the house. And
Right.
then if you are going to bite the bullet and want to do motorization, or you think you might want to do motorization, it's easier to do it now because a lot of times you can't add it on later. You're going to be buying the product all over again.
Oh
So
gosh.
you're spending the money twice. And that's what a lot of people don't understand. So whenever the design consultants walk you through, it's just like, hey, this is an option. Oh no, I don't want to do it or whatever. If you think you might ever want to do it, just inquire about what the price may be.
Hmm.
Because otherwise, if you decide to do it later, you're going to be calling us again and you're paying for that window an entire second time.
Yeah. Such a waste that
I
would
want to
be.
save you money.
Yeah. There you go. All right. Well, if you guys have any questions, feel free to comment, message me. I'll try to pass them on to Danielle. Of course, if you're looking for someone to help you with window treatments and just walk you through the process and maybe help you order something, then she's available as well. I thank you for watching, and I hope you'll subscribe and follow on Facebook and YouTube. And I'm here almost every Wednesday with a new topic related to my real estate adventures or helping you to become a smarter buyer, seller, tenant, or landlord. Thank you so much and have a great week.